The afternoon sun hit the Colorado highway like liquid glass, heat shimmering off the blacktop. Inside a beat-up blue Subaru, Emma Wells kept one hand on the steering wheel and the other on a paper bag full of groceries, praying the milk wouldn't spill again. The radio crackled with the small-town station country songs, road reports, and a preacher who always sounded half-drunk on Grace. She wasn't listening. Her mind was 3 miles ahead, on the babysitter's text, on the overdue rent, on her son waiting with his peanut butter sandwich and wide, patient eyes, and then she saw it, the gaslight. Of course, not now, she muttered. Pulling into the nearest station, a dusty roadside stop where the air smelled like diesel and burnt coffee, she parked, fished through her purse for her wallet, and froze. The lining was torn. Her fingers brushed something small and metallic at the bottom round. Cold, familiar dot, the wedding ring, the one she'd kept hidden for 5 years. Not because she couldn't let go, but because part of her refused to believe it had ever belonged to her in the first place. Emma stared at it, thumb tracing the engraved initials inside, LC plus EW. She should have left it in a drawer, buried like everything else. But something about this day, the heat, the exhaustion, the quiet ache that never really stopped, made her take it out, just to look. Her past glinting in the sunlight, she slid it back into her purse and stepped out to pump gas. A wind kicked up, hot and dry. The smell of oil and dust filled her nose. Behind her, a black car pulled in, sleek, polished, to clean for this side of town. A man stepped out, tall, in a grey suit, no tie, sunglasses hiding his eyes. Something about the way he moved, calm, precise, made her chest tighten. She looked away a few minutes later. She went inside to pay. The clerk barely looked up. When she came back out, juggling her keys, she didn't notice the small gold ring fall from her bag onto the concrete. She drove away before it even stopped spinning. Later that evening, Denver. Liam Carter sat in the back seat of his car, reading numbers on his phone that didn't make sense anymore. The company was fine, the profits up, the board loyal. He should have felt satisfied. Instead, all he felt was noise. He rubbed the bridge of his nose, the ache of another 12-hour day settling in. His driver, Tony, cleared his throat. "Boss, you dropped something." Liam looked down. Between the seat and the door, a ring. He frowned. "Not mine," Tony shrugged. "Found it on the ground at the gas station. Thought maybe it was yours." Liam picked it up. Gold, worn but cared for. He turned it over and saw the engraving LC plus EW for a moment. He couldn't breathe. It was impossible. He closed his hand around it, pulse hammering. "Where exactly did you find this?" "About an hour out, that little stop off Highway 14. Turn around," Liam said quietly. Tony blinked. "Sir, now." By the time the Subaru pulled into Clover Diner, the night sky had already gone violet. Emma killed the engine, threw on her apron, and checked her reflection in the mirror. Dark circles, wind-blown hair, eyes that looked older than 31. "Perfect," she muttered, pushing through the back door, inside. The smell of grease and sugar wrapped around her like a blanket she couldn't wash clean. Her co-worker, Lydia, called from behind the counter. "Hey, Em. Table 6 asked for you, again." Emma groaned. "If it's those truckers," Lydia smirked. "It's not. This guy's wearing a suit. Looks like money and bad decisions." Emma grabbed her pad. Even worse. She walked to table 6, pen poised, professional smile ready. Evening. What can I? The words died in her throat. Liam looked up from the menu. The years between them vanished. Hello, Emma, he said quietly. Her fingers went numb. Liam, the name felt like glass in her mouth. He smiled, slow, unreadable. You dropped something. He placed the gold ring on the table between them. Her heart stuttered. Where did you gas station earlier today? Guess fate still got a cruel sense of humor. She stared at the ring, at his hand, at the faint scar near his wrist she used to trace when he couldn't sleep. I didn't mean to, she began. I know. His voice was gentle but heavy, like it carried every word they'd never said. But I had to see you. She swallowed hard. After 5 years. After finding this, he said simply. The diner hummed around them, the clatter of dishes, the laughter of strangers, but all she heard was the blood rushing in her ears. She wanted to run, to tell him to leave, to say she'd built a new life, however small, and he didn't belong in it. But when she looked at him, really looked, she saw the same exhaustion in his eyes that she carried in her own. The years had changed them both, but the space between them still remembered. Finally, she whispered, You should give that back to whoever you think she is. He smiled faintly. I already did, and for the first time in 5 years, Emma Wells realized the past doesn't always knock. Sometimes it walks right through the door and orders coffee. For a few seconds, Emma couldn't find her voice. The sound of the fryer hissed behind her, the smell of burnt toast and syrup filling the air, grounding her in a world that suddenly felt unreal. She stared at the man across from her, the man she'd once promised forever to, and the man who'd let her walk away without stopping her. Why are you here, Liam? She finally asked, voice low. He looked at her for a long moment, like he was still learning the shape of her face again. I could ask you the same thing, he said quietly. This isn't where I thought I'd find you. She gave a small, humorless laugh. What, serving coffee and pie to truck drivers? Not exactly the dream, huh? His jaw tightened. That's not what I meant. It's what you're thinking. He sighed, leaning back. I'm not here to judge you. Then what are you here for? Liam picked up the ring again, rolling it between his fingers. I saw the engraving, he said. It hit me like a truck. For a second, I thought, maybe I was hallucinating. But I couldn't not come. You could have tried. He smiled faintly. You know I was never good at leaving things unfinished. Her chest ached at that because he had left. Not with words, but with silence. The kind that said we're done louder than any fight ever could. She took a shaky breath. 5 years, Liam. You couldn't call, email, anything. His voice softened. Would you have answered? She hesitated, and he knew the answer before she said it. Lydia passed by, pretending not to stare. Everything okay, Hiram? Emma forced a smile. Fine, Liam added. 2 coffees, please, black. Lydia raised an eyebrow, coming right up. When she left, Emma crossed her arms. You can't just waltz in here like nothing happened. I didn't say nothing happened. Then say something. Liam, because right now I don't know what this is. Nostalgia? Guilt? Or you just trying to prove you still can? He looked at her, eyes dark and unreadable. Maybe it's all of it. Lydia returned with the coffees and left them in silence. Emma stared into hers like it held the answer to every question she'd been avoiding. I moved on, she said finally. He nodded slowly. I can see that. No, you can't. Her voice cracked. I get up at 5 every morning to make pancakes for a kid who deserves more than this. I spend 10 hours a day here, smile at people who don't see me, and pray my car starts every night. You don't get to walk in and act like you understand that life. Liam didn't flinch. He just said softly, "You have a son." The words froze her. Her heart skipped. What? He nodded toward the photo on her apron pocket. A little boy, maybe 5, smiling with a missing front tooth. I noticed when you walked in. He's yours. Emma's fingers went to the photo automatically, covering it. Her pulse raced. Yes, she said slowly. He waited. His name? She hesitated. Jack. A faint smile tugged at his mouth. Cute, yeah. He didn't ask the next question, but it hung in the air between them like smoke. Finally, Emma said, "He's not your concern." Liam's voice was calm, careful. "Maybe not. But if there's something you're not telling me," she cut him off. Don't do that." "Do what?" "Start digging." "That's what you do, Liam. You dig until you find what hurts most, and then you act surprised when people bleed." He looked like he wanted to argue, but then he just leaned back, hands up. "Okay, you're right." She blinked, surprised. He smiled faintly. "You used to hate when I said that." "I still do." A beat passed. Then he said quietly, "I'm back in town for a few weeks. New branch office. Renewable energy expansion. It's complicated. Everything you do is complicated." He chuckled. "Fair." He pulled something from his coat, a business card. "If you ever want to change, I could use someone who's not afraid of hard work." She frowned. "You're offering me a job?" He nodded. "Admin assistant. Decent pay. Better hours than this. I already have a job." He looked around at the peeling paint and flickering lights. "Barely." Her eyes flashed. "You don't get to fix my life like a charity case." He met her gaze steadily. "It's not charity, Emma. It's a chance." She stared at him for a long time, then shook her head. "I can't." He didn't press. He just stood, left $100 bill on the table, and said softly, "Keep the change." She watched him walk out, tall and composed, the same calm gravity that had once pulled her in and torn her apart. Outside, headlights swept across the diner as his car pulled away, disappearing down the road. Only then did she realize the ring was still in the middle of the table. He hadn't taken it that night. After closing, she drove home to the small house at the edge of town. The porch light flickered, the steps creaked, but it was theirs, hers and Jack's. Inside, her son was already asleep, clutching his worn-out dinosaur toy. She brushed her hand through his hair, heart softening. He stirred, mumbling, "Mummy." "She'll go back to sleep, baby." "Did Daddy call?" The words hit like a punch. She swallowed hard. "No, sweetheart. Not yet." She sat on the couch, the ring in her palm, the past whispering louder than ever. And somewhere out there, in a high-rise she'd never see, Liam Carter lay awake, staring at his ceiling, thinking about a woman in a small-town diner, and the boy with his smile. By Thursday morning, Emma was running late, again. The coffee maker had died, Jack had lost a shoe, and the landlord's note was still taped to the door. Final notice, rent due by Friday. She shoved it into her coat pocket before her son could read it. "Mom, you forgot my lunch," Jack said from the kitchen table, swinging his legs. "I didn't forget," she lied. holding up a paper bag that had exactly one sandwich and an apple in it. "See," he grinned, gap-toothed and "You're the best," her heart pinched. "I try." She dropped him at school just as the bell rang. On the way back, her phone buzzed. Lydia, from the diner. "Lydia, you're off the schedule tomorrow. New hires taking your shift." Emma stared at the screen. Her stomach dropped. That night, the school gym smelled like popcorn and crayons, the annual fall fundraiser, where the whole town came to buy overpriced cookies to support the kids. Emma had signed up for cleanup duty. Jack had signed up to have fun. He was running around with the other first graders when she saw him, Liam Carter, standing near the silent auction table in a dark coat. His presence impossible to miss, even in a crowd of PTA parents and teachers with pumpkin pins. She froze mid-step. Of course he'd show up. Of course life wouldn't give her a break. He saw her almost instantly. His gaze locked on hers across the gym, steady, unreadable, then softened when he saw Jack darting around. Laughing. Emma turned away fast, pretending to wipe a table. A minute later, his voice came behind her. "Didn't think you'd be here." She sighed. "You shouldn't be either. It's a public event." She shot him a look. "It's a school fundraiser. You don't even live in this district." He smiled faintly. "Maybe I made a donation." "Why?" "Because someone told me they're serving pie." She glared at him, but the corner of his mouth curved higher. He'd always known how to break her tension with just enough humor to make her want to stay angry. "Seriously, Liam," she said quietly. "What are you doing here?" He hesitated, just long enough for her to notice. "I was meeting with the superintendent about a partnership program. Renewable scholarships, that kind of thing." "Of course," she muttered. "Mr. Charity." "I prefer Mr. trying to help." Before she could answer, a voice shouted, "Mum." "Look." Jack ran toward them, holding a paper crown. "We made these in art class. Isn't it cool?" Emma crouched to his level, smiling. "It's amazing, buddy." Then she realized Liam was still standing there, watching them. His eyes softened in a way that made her chest tighten. Jack looked up at him, curious. "Hi." Liam crouched too, his voice gentle. "Hey there. What's your name?" "Jack. That's a strong name." Jack grinned proudly. "Mum says it's after her grandpa." Liam smiled. "Smart man." Then Emma's stomach twisted. Too much history in too few words. A teacher called for cleanup volunteers. Emma stood fast. "I should go help." Liam nodded, standing. "Mind if I walk you to your car later?" "Yes, I mind." He smiled. "Then I'll wait anyway." By the time the event ended, the parking lot was mostly empty. She loaded Jack into the car, then turned to find Liam leaning against his black sedan, arms crossed. "Persistent, aren't you?" He shrugged. "You always said I didn't know when to quit." She crossed her arms. "What do you want, Liam?" "To help." "I told you, I know. You don't want charity. But this isn't that." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I've seen what you've been doing, Em. 2 jobs. Barely enough time to sleep. You're one bad week away from losing everything." She stiffened. "You had someone look into me." He didn't deny it. "I was worried. Don't. Too late." The tension between them sparked again, part anger, part something else. Liam said softly, "Take the job. It's not about us. It's about stability. For you and for him." She shook her head. I can't work for you. Why not? Because it'll mess with everything I've built. Built. He echoed, a little bitterly. You're holding it together with tape and hope. Her voice snapped. That's still mine. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Liam exhaled slowly. You're right. He handed her a card again. If you change your mind, call. It's yours if you want it. No strings. She stared at it, but didn't take it. There are always strings with you. He smiled faintly. Not this time. Jack's voice from the back seat. Mum. Who's that? Emma turned. Just an old friend, honey. Liam's expression flickered pain. Recognition, something he didn't hide fast enough. Good night, Emma, he said softly. She didn't answer. He turned and walked back to his car, the taillights fading down the long stretch of road until there was only darkness again, that night. Emma sat at the kitchen table, staring at the eviction notice. The fridge hummed. The clock ticked. Her phone buzzed. Lydia again. Lydia heard they're cutting more hours next week. You okay? Emma typed back slowly. Yeah, just tired. She didn't send it. She deleted it instead. Then she looked at the business card on the table. White, clean, simple. Liam Carter, CEO. Carter Energy Group. A direct number written beneath in blue ink. Her hand hovered over it for a long time before she whispered, "Damn it," and dialed the first morning at Carter Energy Group. Felt like walking into someone else's life. The lobby gleamed with glass and steel, sunlight pouring in through windows 2 stories tall. Every sound echoed, heels clicking, phones buzzing, voices too sharp. Too busy. Emma smoothed her thrift store blazer, clutching the visitor badge the receptionist had given her. She'd worn her nicest blouse, pressed her hair straight, even borrowed Lydia's good lipstick. It didn't help. She still felt like an imposter. The receptionist smiled politely. "Mr. Carter will be right with you, Ms. Wells." She forced a smile. "Thanks." Her hands wouldn't stop trembling. Every step she'd taken to get here had felt wrong, like driving down a road. She'd already crashed on once. The elevator doors opened, and there he was, Liam Carter, immaculate in a navy suit, crisp white shirt, and the same calm confidence that used to make her both safe and furious. He smiled, soft but careful. "Morning," she nodded, keeping her voice steady. "You said casual, but I don't think I got the memo." "You look perfect," he said before he could stop himself. She blinked. He cleared his throat quickly. "This way." He led her through the glass hallway overlooking downtown Denver. The view made her dizzy, like standing on the edge of something vast and dangerous. "This will be your desk," he said, stopping near a glass cubicle. "Mostly scheduling, document prep, and coordinating with my assistant when I'm out of office." "Which is, how often?" she asked. He smirked. "You'll see." He showed her where the coffee was, introduced her to a few people, most of whom gave her the polite half smile, reserved for new hires. No one plans to remember, but one person did remember. Emma. The voice came from behind her. She turned and froze. Carla Winters. 5 years hadn't changed her much. Same sharp blonde bob, same designer heels, same eyes that had once watched Emma pack her things the night she left. "Well, this is a surprise," Carla said smoothly. "Didn't expect to see you here." Emma forced a smile. "Guess life's full of surprises." Carla's gaze flicked to Liam, then back to her. "You're Working here now? Yes. How lovely, Carla said, tone syrupy. Welcome back to the Empire. Liam cut in, his voice firm. Carla, Emma's here on my authority. That's all you need to know. Carla smiled thinly. Of course, but her eyes said something else entirely. I remember everything. When Carla left, Emma exhaled. She hates me. Liam glanced at her. She hates everyone. It's practically in her job description. Emma gave a nervous laugh. Still, he softened. Don't let her get to you. She doesn't matter. She used to, Emma said quietly. He hesitated. That was a long time ago. They worked in near silence for the next few hours. Emma fell into rhythm, emails, calendar updates, coffee runs. It felt strange how easily her old habits returned, like muscle memory from another lifetime. Around noon, she carried a stack of reports to Liam's office. The door was open. He was on the phone, pacing. Yes, I know the board's concerned, he said, voice calm but clipped. We'll finalize the merger this quarter. No, I don't need another advisor. I need results. His tone, controlled, decisive, sent a familiar shiver through her. That was the Liam she remembered, the man who could command a room and forget the world outside it. When he hung up, she said softly, You never really stopped, did you? He looked up. Stopped what? Running your life like it's a business meeting. He smiled faintly. Old habits. She hesitated. You always did think love was just another kind of contract. His smile faded. That's not fair. Neither was how it ended. The silence that followed was thick enough to touch. He stood slowly, walked around the desk, stopping just a few feet away. I know I hurt you, he said quietly, but I didn't stop caring. I just didn't know how to fix something I didn't understand. She met his eyes, and now I'm trying to understand. Something in his tone, tired, real, made her chest ache. She looked away. You shouldn't try so hard. Some things are better left broken. Maybe, he said softly, but you were never one of them. The air between them shifted, old gravity pulling new wounds. Emma stepped back. I should get back to work. He nodded slowly, letting her go. But as she turned, he said, There's something you should know. She paused. The company's hosting a charity gala this weekend. Big donors, press mandatory attendance for staff. Carla's coordinating. Her stomach dropped. You mean I have to go? He smirked. It's good exposure. Liam, I don't have anything to wear that doesn't have ketchup stains. His smile turned faintly teasing. Then I'll have something sent over. Don't you dare. He raised his hands. I won't. Promise. But that night, when Emma got home, there was a box waiting on her doorstep, inside a navy dress. Simple, elegant, her size, and a note, handwritten in the corner, for the woman who never stopped being more than enough. She stared at it for a long time, torn between anger and something dangerously close to warmth. Then, from down the hall, Jack called sleepily, Mom. Are you okay? She smiled faintly. Yeah, baby. I think I might be. The night of the gala began with a lie. I'm fine, Emma said it to the mirror, to Jack asleep down the hall, and finally to herself. Even though she knew it wasn't true, the dress fit perfectly, which somehow made her more nervous. Simple navy silk, thin straps, a neckline that suggested confidence she didn't feel. The kind of dress you wore when you wanted to be invisible but elegant doing it. She tied her hair up, applied lipstick she hadn't worn in years, and stared at her reflection until she almost recognized the woman looking back. The knock on the door came right on time. When she opened it, there he was, Liam, in a black suit. No tie, crisp white shirt. Every inch of him looked like he belonged to another world, and maybe he did. "Wow," he said softly. She raised an eyebrow. "You sent the dress, didn't you?" He smiled, unashamed. "Guilty. You promised you wouldn't." He shrugged. "You look too good for me to feel bad about lying." She shook her head, but couldn't hide the faint smile tugging at her lips. "You still think charm fixes everything." He offered his arm. "Only the small things." The gala was held downtown. Glass walls, chandeliers. The kind of place where wine costs more than rent. Emma had never felt so out of place. Liam stayed close, but not too close. Like he understood she needed space. Every few seconds, she caught someone staring, whispering, glancing between them. She tried to ignore it, but gossip in a room full of money was louder than music. They reached the reception area. A woman in a silver gown turned and smiled too sweetly. "Emma Wells. My, it's been ages." Emma's stomach tightened. Carla's eyes flicked over her dress. "Lovely, off the rack." Before Emma could answer, Liam's voice slid in, smooth as polished stone. "Custom, actually. Italian. I picked it myself." Carla's smile faltered. "Of course, you did." Liam's tone didn't change. "Now, if you'll excuse us, my date and I have to greet the donors." Carla blinked. "Your date?" Liam smiled. "You heard me." He guided Emma away before Carla could respond. When they reached the balcony overlooking the city, Emma finally exhaled. "You didn't have to do that." He leaned against the railing. "She was being cruel. She always is. You don't need to rescue me." He looked at her. "Maybe I want to." That stopped her. He held her gaze, his voice softer now. "I know what it's like to be on the outside of this world. It never forgets to remind you." She looked out over the city lights, her reflection ghosted in the glass. "I thought you were this world." He shook his head. "I just own a small piece of it, the rest." "I still don't understand." The air between them shifted, quieter now, charged. "You were always like this," she said softly. The man who could talk down a boardroom and still make someone feel seen. He smiled faintly. "You make that sound like a bad thing. It's worse. It's the reason I fell for you." He looked at her then, really looked. "And the reason you left." She swallowed. "That too." Music drifted from inside, a slow jazz number. Couples moved across the floor in practiced elegance. Liam offered his hand. "Dance with me." She hesitated. "It's been a long time, I'll lead." She gave a half laugh, half sigh, but placed her hand in his anyway. His touch was warm, familiar in ways that scared her. They stepped onto the floor. He moved easily, guiding her through the rhythm like it was something they'd never forgotten. For a few minutes, it almost felt simple again, just movement, heartbeat, breath. "You're still good at this," she murmured. "So are you." She looked up, and the world narrowed, just his face, the faint stubble on his jaw. The eyes that had once been her home. "Liam," she whispered, "why are you really doing this?" He didn't answer right away. Then, quietly, "Because I missed you." Her throat tightened. Don't what?" "Say things you don't mean." His grip on her waist softened. I never stopped meaning them. Before she could speak, a voice cut through the music. Liam Carter, someone said. Male, older, too loud. Didn't expect to see you out of your tower. Liam turned. Evan Blake, always a pleasure. Emma froze. The name hit like a punch. Evan Blake, the financial officer who'd been there the night everything fell apart. The night she'd left. He smiled at her now, wolfish. Emma, it's been a while. You look better. Her stomach turned. Evan, still keeping secrets? He asked lightly. Old habits die hard. Liam's tone chilled. You should go, Evan smirked. Just saying hello. Didn't know we were rewriting history. He walked away, but his words lingered like poison. Liam looked at her. What was that about? She shook her head. Nothing, Emma. I said, it's nothing. He didn't believe her. She could see it in his eyes, but he let it go. For now. Later that night, when she got home, Jack was asleep again, same way he always was when she came home late. She tucked him in, then sat on the couch. Slipping off her shoes, her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You shouldn't be working for him. He doesn't know the truth. Her blood ran cold. The message haunted her all night. Not the words themselves. You shouldn't be working for him. He doesn't know the truth. But the way they seemed to echo in her chest, like an old wound reopening by morning. Emma had tried to convince herself it was spam, a prank, a coincidence. But she couldn't, because whoever sent it knew exactly what she'd been hiding. She dropped Jack off at school, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. When she pulled out of the parking lot, her phone buzzed again, still pretending. Some secrets don't stay buried. Emma, her throat went dry. She deleted the messages, hands trembling, and drove faster by the time she reached Carter Energy. She'd convinced herself to focus, to bury it under work and small talk and forced calm. But when she stepped into the office, Liam was waiting. He leaned against her desk, sleeves rolled up, the morning sun cutting sharp lines across his face. You're late, he said, but his tone was light, teasing. Traffic, she lied. He studied her for a second too long. You okay? Fine, you're sure? Positive, but her voice cracked on the last word. He frowned, noticing. Emma, don't, she whispered. He didn't push, just nodded slowly, letting her escape behind her computer screen. The morning dragged endless reports, signatures, emails she barely read. But every sound made her flinch, every vibration of her phone, every footstep in the hall at noon. She went to the break room for coffee and froze. Carla stood at the counter, stirring sugar into her mug. Her expression sharpened the second she saw Emma. Well, Carla said smoothly. You're jumpy today. Long night. Carla tilted her head. You always did have trouble sleeping. Guilt will do that. Emma's hand tightened around the paper cup. Excuse me. Carla smiled, saccharine and cruel. Relax. I'm just making conversation. Emma turned to leave, but Carla's voice followed her. Does he know Emma? Emma stopped cold. Carla took a slow sip of coffee. About that little incident before you left. The one that almost cost the company millions. Emma turned, voice shaking. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I do. Carla smiled wider. And so will he, sooner or later. Emma left before her voice could break. She didn't stop until she was outside in the cold air. the noise of traffic washing over her like white noise. She pressed her back to the wall and closed her eyes. Breathe, just breathe. She'd promised herself this would be different, that she could start over. But the past had a way of following her home. That evening, as the office emptied, Liam appeared in her doorway. "Walk with me," he said. She hesitated. "Now." He nodded. "I need air." They stepped outside, the city fading into orange light and long shadows. He looked tired for once, the kind of tired that money couldn't fix. You ever think about how small choices change everything? He said quietly. She glanced at him. "Every day." He nodded, eyes distant. "I keep wondering what would have happened if we'd just talked. If I hadn't pushed you so hard. If you hadn't walked out." She looked away. "Maybe we'd still be miserable." He smiled faintly. "Maybe." Then softer. "But at least we'd have been miserable together." She stopped walking. "Don't do that." "What?" "Act like we were some tragedy that could have been saved. You don't know everything." He turned toward her. "Then tell me. Whatever you're hiding, I can handle it." She shook her head, panic rising. "You don't understand." "Then make me." His voice was quiet but firm, the same tone he used in boardrooms when no one dared challenge him. Emma's eyes filled. "If I tell you, you'll never look at me the same." He stepped closer. "Try me." She almost said it, almost let the truth break free. But before she could, her phone buzzed again. A new message. No name. No number. "He deserves to know, Emma, or I'll tell him myself." Her blood went cold. Liam saw her expression change. "What is it?" She hid the screen behind her back. "Nothing." He frowned. "Emma," I said, "it's nothing." Her voice cracked like glass. Silence fell between them, raw, uneasy. Then she turned away. "I have to go." That night, after putting Jack to bed, she sat at the kitchen table with her phone, staring at the last message. She typed one reply. "Who are you? What do you want?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No answer, only another message. "Meet me tomorrow. Same cafe where you met him the first time. Come alone." It rained the next morning, soft, steady, grey. The kind of rain that seemed to erase sound, washing the world clean but leaving everything heavier. Emma parked 2 blocks away from the cafe. She sat in the car for nearly 10 minutes before forcing herself out, pulling her hood up, clutching her coat tight. The cafe was almost empty. Morning rush was over, and the smell of espresso and damp coats hung in the air. She chose a booth in the back, where the light was dim and no one would look twice at her. Her heart thudded in her chest. Every face that passed the window made her flinch. Then a familiar voice. "Still drink your coffee black." Emma froze. When she looked up, she saw Evan Blake standing there, holding 2 mugs, smiling like he'd just been waiting for her. "What are you doing here?" she whispered. He set the coffee down and slid into the seat across from her. "Relax, Emma. We're just talking. You sent those messages." He didn't deny it. "I needed your attention. You could have just called." He smirked. "You would have ignored me." She leaned back, heart pounding. "What do you want, Evan?" "To make sure you don't ruin things again." Her stomach twisted. "Again." He stirred his coffee, casual. "You were smart once, you know. You covered for the wrong person and paid for it. I assumed you'd learned your lesson." Emma's voice hardened. I didn't cover for you. No, he said lightly. You covered for him. Her breath caught. Evan smiled faintly. Liam never knew, did he? That the missing money, the false reports, it wasn't you. It was one of his board members. You just happened to sign the wrong document at the wrong time. She gripped the table. I took the fall because you told me the company would go under if I didn't. He leaned closer, eyes cold, and it worked. You disappeared, the heat died down, and Liam rebuilt everything. You're welcome. You ruined my life. He shrugged. Collateral damage? For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The rain hit the window harder now, streaking the glass between them. Then Emma said quietly, "Why now?" "Because your return complicates things," Evan said. "Liam's looking into the old audits. He'll find the discrepancy, and when he does, your name's still on every form." Her voice dropped. "You're blackmailing me." "I'm giving you options," he said smoothly. "Quit before he finds out. Or stay, and I'll make sure he hears my version first." Emma stared at him, trembling with anger and fear. "You think I'm still afraid of you?" He smiled. "You were always afraid of losing him, of being seen for what you really are." She stood abruptly, grabbing her coat. Evan's voice followed her. "You walk away from me again, Emma, and I'll make sure he never looks at you the same. You'll lose him. And when that happens, you'll lose everything else too." She turned, eyes sharp through tears. "You already took everything once. There's nothing left to lose." Then she walked out into the rain. By the time she got back to her car, her hands were shaking too badly to hold the keys. She sat there, staring at the steering wheel, heart racing. A shadow moved across the windshield. She looked up and saw Liam standing there. Drenched, her breath hitched. He opened her door. "You weren't answering your phone," she swallowed. "How did you?" "I tracked your location," he said, voice quiet but firm. "You left work without a word." Her chest tightened. "You tracked me. You were upset." "I was worried." He noticed the second coffee cup on the table inside the cafe through the window. His eyes darkened. "Who were you meeting? Leon?" "Who?" She hesitated. "Evan," his jaw tensed. "Why?" "It's complicated, then uncomplicated." "Please," she said, voice shaking. "Not here." He took a breath, stepped back. "Fine, get in." They drove in silence. Rain blurred the city lights, turning everything outside into streaks of silver and grey. "Finally," he said, "you should have told me." She stared out the window. "You wouldn't have believed me. Try me." "I did once." That silenced him. Back at her apartment. She sent him inside first. Didn't want Jack to wake up and see her crying. Liam stood in the living room, water dripping from his coat. "Emma, whatever this is, I need to know. If you're in danger, I'm fine." He stepped closer. "You're not." She turned, voice breaking. "You don't get to worry about me anymore, don't I?" He caught her wrist before she could walk away. "You think I stopped caring because we fell apart? Because we signed papers? You're wrong." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "Then why didn't you look for me?" He froze. "I waited," she said softly. "For months. You didn't call. You didn't ask why I left. You just moved on." Liam's voice cracked. "I thought you didn't want to be found." "Maybe I didn't," she whispered. "But you could have tried." They stood there in silence, too close, too far. He said, almost breaking, "Tell me what he has on you." She closed her eyes. You don't want to know. I do. Then you'll hate me. He stepped closer. Then I'll hate you, honestly. But before she could speak, a sound cut through the silence. Her phone buzzing on the counter. Another message. You should have listened. Emma, he's not safe anymore. Her eyes widened. Liam frowned. What is it? She grabbed her coat. Jack. It started with sirens. By the time Emma and Liam reached the school, the parking lot was nearly empty. Just 2 patrol cars flashing blue in the downpour. Rain poured down hard enough to blur faces into shadows. A teacher hurried toward them, raincoat flapping. Mrs. Wells, she shouted. We called, he's not here. Emma's world tilted. What do you mean, not here? Jack's teacher said you picked him up early. Emma froze. No, I didn't. The woman's expression paled. Then who? Liam grabbed her arm gently but firmly. Who signed him out? The teacher's voice trembled. It was a man. Said he was his uncle. Emma's breath hitched. Uncle. Liam's eyes met hers. Only one name came to both their minds. Evan. They were back in the car before the cops could finish their questions. Liam gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. He's playing you, Emma. He's trying to scare you into running again. He took my son. She shouted, tears cutting through the rain on her cheeks. He's not just trying to scare me, he's punishing me. Liam slammed the gas pedal, tires skidding on the wet road. Do you know where he'd go? She shook her head, breathing fast. No, I don't. He always used to meet clients at that lake house outside the city. Which one? Lake Haven, near the dam. Liam nodded sharply. Hold on. The drive was a blur of lightning and water. Emma clutched her phone, calling, texting, begging. But there was no answer when they reached the turnoff to Lake Haven. The rain had turned the dirt road into a river of mud. Liam's headlights cut through fog and branches until a faint silhouette appeared ahead. A dark sedan parked crooked near the cabin gate. Emma gasped. That's his car. Liam threw the car into park before it stopped moving. Stay here, like hell. She was out of the car before he could stop her, rain soaking her hair, her heels sinking into the mud. The cabin's porch light flickered weakly. The door was open. Inside, silence. Jack. Emma called, her voice cracking. Jack, baby, it's Mum. No answer. Liam moved ahead of her, scanning each room, tension in every line of his body. Then they heard it, a muffled sob. Mum. Emma turned toward the sound. A small closet door near the kitchen. She yanked it open, and Jack fell into her arms, shaking, eyes red. Mummy. Oh God, she sobbed, clutching him close. I've got you. You're safe. You're safe. Liam crouched beside them, his face hard with fury and relief. Where is he, Jack? Where's Evan? Jack sniffled. He left. Said he had to talk to you, Mom. Emma looked up at Liam. He's not done. They stayed there for a moment. All three huddled together, thunder echoing outside. Then Emma's phone buzzed again. She almost dropped it when she saw the message. Check your email. Liam looked over her shoulder. Do it. She opened it. There was one file, a video attachment, no subject line. The clip loaded slowly, rain hammering against the roof. The screen flickered to life, grainy footage from years ago. An office, her, sitting across from Evan, signing a set of papers. Her own voice echoed faintly. If this helps Liam, I'll do it. Then Evan's voice, smooth, smiling. It will. You have my word. Liam froze. What is that? Emma's hands shook. The night I left, you were protecting me. Tears blurred her vision. You were about to lose everything, Liam. The company, the contracts, your reputation. I took the fall so you wouldn't. He stared at her, shock, guilt, disbelief colliding all at once. Why didn't you tell me? I tried, she whispered. But by the time I did, you'd already believed everyone else. Liam turned away, jaw tight, breathing hard. He braced a hand against the wall, voice low. He used you, she nodded. He always did. He turned back, eyes dark and full of something deeper than anger. Then he's not walking away this time. She caught his arm. Liam, he looked at her, rain and fury gleaming in his eyes. He threatened my son. Our son. She froze. What did you just say? Our son, he said again, voice breaking this time. You think I didn't do the math? You left right after everything fell apart. He's mine, isn't he? Emma's tears mixed with rain. Yes, for a heartbeat, the world held still, thunder, wind, and silence wrapping around them like a confession. Liam's voice trembled. All these years, I didn't know. I wanted to tell you. But then everything. He stepped forward, hands on her shoulders, eyes shining. We'll fix this. All of it. But he's not going to hurt you again. The storm outside roared louder, lightning cracking against the lake. Somewhere in the distance, a car engine started, the faint hum echoing through the trees. Liam turned toward the sound, jaw set. He's close. Emma held Jack tight. Be careful. He glanced back at her, voice low but certain. Not this time. Then he stepped out into the storm. The rain didn't stop. It only changed shape, from steady sheets to sharp, violent bursts that made the air sting, and the earth steam. Liam's headlights cut through the fog as he drove down the dirt road behind the cabin. He knew Evan, too. Well, the kind of man who never ran far, who liked to watch his chaos unfold from a safe distance. He saw the taillights first, a dull red glow through the mist, half buried behind the pines. He killed his own lights, stepped out into the storm. The mud swallowed his shoes, wind ripping at his coat. Evan, he shouted. The only answer was the roar of rain. He found him by the lake. Evan stood near the old pier, coat soaked, cigarette glowing faintly in the dark. You always did know where to find me, Evan said without turning around. You made it easy. Evan laughed softly. You think you're here to win, but you already lost her once, Liam. You'll lose her again. Liam's jaw clenched. You took a child. I returned what was stolen. Liam stepped closer, fury flashing in his eyes. You don't get to talk about my son. Evan turned then, eyes bright and cold under the lightning. Your son, you didn't even know he existed until tonight. You abandoned her, Liam. I didn't. You used her. I saved her, Evan snapped. You were so blinded by your empire, you didn't notice she was drowning. I did what you couldn't. Liam's voice dropped to a growl. You manipulated her, forged records in her name, ruined her career, and you call that saving? Evan smiled faintly. She made her choice. She stayed quiet. They stood facing each other, two men divided by years, guilt, and the same woman. Liam took a step closer. You're done controlling her. Evan's smirk faltered. You think you can just fix everything by showing up now? It's too late. She's already, but he didn't finish. Because a sound broke through the rain, gravel crunching footsteps. Emma. She'd followed them. Stop it, she shouted, breathless, soaked to the bone. Both of you, stop. Liam turned, startled. Emma, go back inside. No, she cried. I'm done letting men decide how my life ends. Evan laughed, bitter, broken. There she is, the martyr, always caught between guilt and love. She looked at him, voice shaking. You think love is control. It's not. It's what happens after control breaks. Big words, he said coldly. You still don't understand what's at stake. I understand enough. Evan reached into his coat, not fast, but deliberate. Liam tensed. Don't. Evan's eyes flickered, pain, regret, something twisted. You don't scare me anymore, Liam. You never did. Then why? Are you shaking? Lightning flashed, and for a heartbeat, Emma saw what Evan was holding. A gun, Evan? No, his voice cracked. I wanted you to choose me once. Just once. I never could, she whispered. He exhaled a sound more like defeat than rage, than thunder, a single shot. The echo hung in the rain. Evan staggered, eyes wide. The gun clattered from his hand and sank into the mud. He fell to his knees. I didn't mean Liam caught him before he hit the ground. Don't you dare die on me, you bastard. Evan's blood mixed with the rain, washing down into the lake. He smiled faintly through the pain. You always win. Liam's voice broke. This isn't winning. Evan coughed, then whispered, Tell her, I'm sorry. And then he went still. For a long moment, only the storm spoke. Emma dropped to the ground beside them, sobbing. Oh God, Liam held her, his face pale and hollow. He's gone, he didn't have to. No, Liam said quietly, he did. He looked out at the lake, endless, dark, reflecting the flash of lightning above. For years I blamed you, he said softly. But it was him, all along. Emma nodded through tears. He just wanted to be seen, even if it meant destroying everything. The sirens came minutes later, red lights slicing through rain and smoke. Paramedics took Evan's body. Police asked questions Emma could barely answer. When it was over, and the world went quiet again, she and Liam sat on the porch steps of the cabin. Drenched, silent. Jack slept inside, wrapped in blankets. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, Liam said, You shouldn't have followed me. She gave a tired smile. You should know by now I don't listen. He looked at her, rain glistening in his eyes. You saved me once by walking away. Maybe this time I get to save you by staying. Her lip trembled. Liam. He reached out, brushed wet hair from her face. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Just a chance. She whispered, To what? To start where we left off, but better. The storm began to break then, thunder fading, rain easing into mist. A faint sunrise bloomed behind the clouds, pale and uncertain. Emma leaned her head on his shoulder, exhausted. Do you think we can really start over? She asked. He smiled faintly. No one ever starts over, Emma. We just keep going, but this time, together. The morning smelled of rain and smoke. The world outside the cabin was quiet. The kind of quiet that comes after everything's already been said and lost. Emma woke first. For a moment, she didn't move, just lay there, listening to the soft rhythm of Jack's breathing in. The next room, the creak of the porch, the distant hum of police cars fading down the hill. Her body ached, her eyes burned, but her heart, for the first time in years, was still. She slipped out of bed, pulled on Liam's oversized shirt from the night before. It hung loose around her shoulders, smelling faintly of rain and cedar and him. When she stepped onto the porch, Liam was already there, sitting on the steps. Same shirt as yesterday, sleeves rolled, coffee steaming beside him. He didn't turn when she came out. He just said quietly, "I thought you could use some quiet." She sat beside him, drawing her knees close. "I didn't think I'd ever want to see this place again." He looked out at the lake, calm now, mirror smooth under pale morning light. "Funny thing about places like this," he said. "They keep every sound, every word you wish you hadn't said." She smiled faintly, or hadn't lost. They sat in silence for a while, the air thick with everything they weren't saying. "I talked to the police," he said finally. "They're closing the case, calling it an accident." She flinched. "That's what it was." He nodded. "Still doesn't make it feel better." "No," he glanced at her. "You should know Evan wasn't working alone. The board's been hiding some of his numbers for years. I'll have to clean it up. You don't have to do it alone." He smiled faintly. "You mean you'll stay?" She hesitated, then nodded. "If you'll let me." Liam looked at her, eyes softening. "You don't need my permission, Emma. You never did." Inside, Jack stirred awake. They both turned at the sound that small, sleepy voice calling, "Mum." Emma went to him. He sat up, hair messy, eyes still red from the night before. "Did we go home yet?" "Almost," she whispered, sitting beside him. He looked at her, then toward the window. "Is that man gone?" She nodded. "Yes, he can't hurt anyone now." Jack frowned. "Mum." "He said Daddy was mad at you." Her heart clenched. "What else did he say? That you were scared to tell him something?" She swallowed hard. "I was, but I told him now." Jack tilted his head. "Did Daddy forgive you?" She smiled faintly. "We're still figuring that out." Later that afternoon, they drove back into the city. The clouds were still grey, but the light had changed, warmer, somehow, at a red light. Emma glanced at Liam. He looked older than she remembered, not just in the lines of his face, but in the weight of everything he'd carried. "You didn't have to come back for me," she said softly. He kept his eyes on the road. "You didn't have to stay away for so long. I thought I was doing the right thing." He exhaled slowly. "You were trying to save me, but I didn't need saving. I needed you." She looked down at her hands. "You say that like it's easy. It's not, but it's the truth." They stopped by the old house, the one she'd left years ago, the one he'd never sold. Dusty curtains, silent rooms, a piano still in the corner where she used to sing to Jack before bed. He watched her step inside, eyes misting with nostalgia. "You kept it," she whispered. "I couldn't let it go," he said. "It felt like you'd walk through the door any day." Her eyes shimmered. "And now?" He smiled faintly. "Now you did." That evening, as twilight settled over the porch, Liam poured 2 glasses of wine. They sat side by side again, just like they had in another lifetime. Before ambition, before betrayal, before loss. He looked at her. "You never asked what I regret most." She tilted her head. "What?" "Believing I could build a life worth living without you in it." Her throat tightened. "Liam," he reached out, brushed his thumb over her hand. "We can't undo what happened, but we can decide what comes next. And what if we fail again? Then we fail honestly." Jack's laughter floated out from inside, the sound of crayons against paper, a new drawing taped to the wall. It said, in messy letters, "Me, Mum, and Dad." Emma smiled through tears. He's going to be okay. Liam nodded. So are we. She looked at him, really looked, and saw the same man she'd fallen in love with, worn by time but still standing, still trying. Then she said softly, "Let's go home." 6 months later, spring came early to Colorado. The snow melted faster that year, turning the hills into rivers of green dot. Emma drove with the windows down, Jack singing off-key in the back seat. The air smelled like pine and new beginnings. They were headed to the lake, the same one that used to hold too many memories. Now, it was where everything had started again. Jack kicked his heels against the seat. "Are we going to see Dad's boat?" Emma smiled. "That's the plan. He said I could drive it this time." She laughed. "He says a lot of things. Let's see if he keeps that promise." The cabin had changed. Fresh paint, repaired porch, flowers planted along the walkway. A sign near the dock read, "Carter Environmental Initiative, Community Outreach Center." Liam's idea. He'd stepped back from the CEO role that once defined him, turning the company into a foundation focused on rebuilding and renewable projects. He still wore the same pressed shirts, but his sleeves were always rolled up now, less boardroom, more dirt and sun. He was standing by the dock when they arrived, wind in his hair, talking with 2 volunteers. Jack jumped out before the car stopped. "Dad," Liam turned, grin breaking across his face. "Hey, champ." Jack ran into his arms, laughing, the sound bouncing off the water. Emma watched from the car for a second. That image, simple and whole, almost too perfect to look at directly. Then she got out. Liam met her halfway up the dock. "Morning," he said softly. "Morning. You drove all the way from Boulder." She nodded. Jack insisted. He smirked. "I like the kid's priorities. He gets them from me, clearly." They smiled at each other, that quiet, steady kind of smile that lives between people who've already been through everything else. He gestured toward the cabin. "I made coffee, the good kind." "You mean the expensive kind," she teased. "Same difference." Inside, the cabin smelled like cedar and cinnamon. The storm stains on the walls had been painted over. The piano in the corner gleamed again, restored, its surface polished like new. Emma ran her fingers along the keys. "You fixed it," he shrugged. "You loved it. I still do." Then it was worth fixing. They sat at the small kitchen table, coffee between them, Jack's laughter echoing from outside. For a long time, neither spoke. It wasn't uncomfortable, just full, like silence could finally mean peace instead of tension. "Finally," Liam said, "they finalized Evan's audit. Everything's clean now." "No more ghosts," she nodded. "You did it. We did it." He looked at her. "You know, I thought losing everything would break me. Turns out it just made room for something better." She smiled. "You always did love rebuilding. Only when I have the right blueprint." He hesitated, then reached into his pocket. When he placed it on the table, her breath caught. A ring. Worn, simple, gold. "Her ring, I found it when we cleaned out the old office," he said quietly. "Thought maybe it was time it found its way home." She stared at it for a long moment. The scratches, the faint dent near the edge. Every mark was a story. He shook his head. "No pressure. No promises I can't keep. I just wanted you to have it. Whatever you do with it, that's up to you." She smiled softly. "You still don't know when to quit, do you?" He chuckled. "Not when it comes to you. They stepped outside later, coffee mugs still warm in their hands. Jack was on the dock, fishing line in the water, humming. The lake was glassy, sunlight breaking across it like gold. Liam stood beside her, their shoulders brushing lightly. "You ever think we'd end up here again?" he asked. "Not like this." "Better." She smiled faintly. "Different, real." He nodded. "I'll take real." Jack looked up suddenly. "Mum, Dad, I caught something." They ran down the dock, laughing as Jack lifted his tiny fishing rod. At the end of the line, not a fish, but a shiny bottle cap glinting in the sun. Liam crouched beside him. "That's a unique catch," Jack beamed. "Treasure?" Emma laughed. "Looks like you've got your father's optimism." Liam glanced up at her. "Let's hope he keeps it longer than we did." When the laughter faded, they stood together, watching the lake shimmer. Emma turned the ring over in her hand once, twice, then slipped it back into Liam's palm. He looked at her, confused. She smiled. "Keep it, for now. When I'm ready, I'll ask for it back." He nodded slowly, closing his fingers around it. Deal. 1 year later, the lake was quiet again, wrapped in morning light and the hum of summer insects. Mist drifted across the surface, thin as silk, and the mountains beyond glowed soft gold beneath a rising sun. Emma stood at the edge of the dock, barefoot, coffee in hand. Her reflection shimmered in the ripples. Not the woman who ran, or the woman who hid, but someone lighter. Someone who'd finally stayed. Behind her, the cabin door creaked open. Jack's small voice called, "Mum, breakfast's ready." She smiled. "Coming?" He ran back inside, the screen door slamming behind him. Inside, the kitchen smelled like pancakes and burnt toast. Jack stood on a stool, flour in his hair, spatula in hand. Liam was next to him, pretending not to supervise, but clearly doing all the actual work. When Emma walked in, Jack beamed. "We made breakfast." "I can tell," she said, laughing. Liam wiped his hands on a towel and looked at her. He still wore that same navy flannel he claimed was lucky. The sleeves rolled past his elbows. There was grey in his beard now. Not much, just enough to make him look softer. "You sleep okay?" he asked. "Better than I used to." He smiled. "Good." They ate together at the table overlooking the lake. The window was open, letting in sunlight and the faint sound of waves brushing the dock. Jack was talking about school, about the puppy they were going to adopt, about how he was definitely, absolutely ready to learn guitar this summer. Emma barely heard half of it. She was too busy memorizing the moment, his voice, Liam's quiet laugh, the smell of maple syrup. For years, she'd been haunted by what-ifs. Now, she was surrounded by enough. After breakfast, Liam took Jack into town for supplies. Emma stayed behind to clean, or so she told them. When their car disappeared down the road, she went to the bedroom closet and reached up to the top shelf. The box was still there. Small, simple, wrapped in old newspaper. She carried it outside to the dock. The air was warm. The lake mirrored the sky, endless blue. Stretching toward the horizon, she opened the box. Inside was the ring. She held it in her palm, feeling its weight, the past, the pain, the love it carried. It wasn't about ownership anymore. It was about choice. For years, she had worn it like a wound. Now, she wanted to wear it like a promise. She slipped it onto her finger. It fit perfectly, as if time had been waiting for this quiet, inevitable moment. When Liam and Jack returned, She was sitting at the edge of the dock, feet in the water. Liam noticed first. His gaze dropped to her hand, then lifted back to her eyes. "You sure?" he asked quietly. She nodded. "I'm not the same person who took it off." He smiled, not big, not dramatic, but real. Then he sat beside her, their hands brushing. Jack ran past them with the new puppy, laughing, sunlight bouncing off the water around him. Emma leaned her head on Liam's shoulder. "Do you ever think about everything we lost?" she asked softly. "All the time," he said. "But I think more about what we almost didn't find again." She smiled. "The ring?" He shook his head. "You," her breath caught. "You always did know what to say, only when it's true." They sat there a long while, the lake stretching endlessly before them, the wind carrying the smell of pine and rain and second chances. In the distance, the sun lifted higher, gold spilling across the water until the world looked almost new again. Emma closed her eyes, whispered, "Maybe this is what forever really means. Not perfect, just possible." Liam squeezed her hand. "I'll take possible." And when she opened her eyes again, the horizon shimmered wide, bright and full of promise.